Hi, I am at school in my classroom. We don't have students today, it's a work day, end of the quarter. So I thought I would take a second to talk to you about I would say what you need, but what we look at as far as what we go through production staff wise and what that is in theaters that I've worked in. So if you are by yourself, all those jobs that you are starting to fill. Um, So you start at sort of the top end of how things get done. You have artistic managers and production managers. Pardon me. Artistic managers have the vision for what is happening in the season, whether that's um, I don't want to say a themed season. I don't know many theaters that do themed seasons, but they're choosing based on what you think your audience is going to enjoy. We choose based on educationally what we think is going to work for our students, whether it's going to be a big stretch or a little stretch, whether we have a lot of heavy shows or comedy, or what kind of year we're having. Do we need to go heavy, light? Do we want to have a message? So all of those decisions get made usually by an artistic manager or somebody filling that role. Production manager is the one who has to make sure that all of the resources are there to fulfill the vision of the artistic manager. So a lot of times, at least for us, we kind of all fill those roles together as a group. Um, Production management usually deals with production contracts, hiring everybody, things like that. Um, sometimes those jobs are filled by office managers. Just kind of depends on the job. Um, but ultimately, making sure the resources are there are the responsibility of the production manager. Then you get down to directors, and director at a high school level is kind of the catch-all for absolutely everything. And if you are in that position, we feel you. We know how difficult that is because you are doing all of the artistic management, you are doing all of the production management, and you're sometimes doing the design and the costuming, and you're overseeing the builds of everything. Normally, those things fall to a technical director. As far as the implementation of the show, so you are dealing with directors deal with artistic staff. Um, if it's musical, you've got musical directors, choreographers, uh, acting coaches, those things that fall under the director. And technical director, you have your design elements, which are just growing. The more things you can think to add to a show, they've kind of always been there, but they're getting more and more specialized. We think typically sets, lights, and costumes. Of course, sound, very important. Um, Projections are becoming more and more important. That kind of used to be a purview of lighting because it definitely affects the lighting, but now it is very much its own beastie. Sometimes automation, things like that, become their own thing depending on how big your show is. Effects can be their whole own uh, entity. Again, depending on how big your show is, how many effects you have, what kind of show you're doing. Properties typically is grossly overlooked and underestimated production design element. Um, Props really should have their own department designer. Usually it falls under, actually, it just kind of falls everywhere. If they're costume props, they kind of end up with costumes. If an actor wears it in or carries it in as part of their clothing, it kind of becomes a costume. If they pick it up and manipulate it and move it around the stage or carry it on and off stage, it's its own property. And then if it's a large piece, like a couch or a sink or something big, that usually falls to scenery. But it really should be its own thing because there are a million different types of handbags in the world. There are a million different types of candelabras in the world. And increasingly, as we add more stuff to uh, our lives, those things eventually end up on stage. And so, I started keeping maybe 15 years ago all of our obsolete technology, our old cell phones, computers, recording devices, which, tape decks, CD players, DVD burners, our the VCRs, all of those things, they're all in bins in not my basement anymore, but my son's basement, because we are starting to need those things because those are now period pieces. And we had a show that was set in a college dorm in the 80s, and it's like, where are we going to find this stuff? Well, my basement. And that's just why theater people never throw anything away. Those of you that are not theater people, that are coming into this from a different angle, and you have theater people in your life, this is why theater people don't throw things away, because we know we're going to need it eventually. It's going to end up somewhere on stage. So property's kind of their own thing, but all of that comes under tech direction. Tech direction reports to the production manager. Those jobs get narrower and narrower as you go down. Designers, as I said, you've got those design rows. Sometimes certain things will fall under, like properties will fall under scenery, or projections will fall under. Speaking of properties, it was somebody coming in looking for props, or at least informing me that there were props. So designers come down to under the tech direction, and then you have your artisans who fall under your designers or work with your designers. I shouldn't say fall under, because this is all very collaborative. Everybody's got a stake in the game. So whereas you have your technical director and your designers, you also have your shop managers. So you've got costume shop managers, scene shop, master carpenters, master electricians, all of the people that implement the designs, that have the technical know-how, get the artistic know-how, the technical know-how. But these are all people who are artists. We are all artists, and we've got a stake in the game. So even though we're not the ones, depending on where we fall in the ladder, not necessarily responsible for the final decisions, we all have a stake in how the show comes out. So, but often, and then on the directorial side, choreographers who else are implementing the vision of your director, acting coaches, again, implementing the vision of the director for the whole idea of the show, and so forth. Musical direction, conductors, musicians, all have. They are all artists in their own right who are creating this idea of the show. So that is a lot of jobs that often get condensed into one person when you're talking about either educational theater or community theater or small theater. So again, the bigger you can make that sandbox, the more people you can bring in to help. But knowing the roles that you are filling, even if you're filling all of them, knowing what they are and articulating them, especially to the people who are supporting your program. If you're in a school, so to your admin. If you're in the community, to your patrons and supporters, so they kind of know everything that's going into that. If you're part of a church or a community group that is attached to like an Elks or something along those lines, the people who support the program should know what goes into it. And you know all the work that goes into it. But sometimes people need to hear and understand, these are the jobs that we are filling. This is what it would take to get this done if we were operating at X level. So, and when we make proposals for staffing or for when we have a change in admin and they come to us and say, so what's this all about? This is what we tell them. We say very specifically, these are the roles, these are all the hats that we're wearing, just so you know what it takes to make this happen. So, and then we try to get them involved as much as possible. So that is my very brief overview for people that don't necessarily know all of the hats that get worn. That doesn't even touch the performers and the crew. That's literally just the production staff that get it to the stage. And then there's the whole group of people that deal with it once it's on the stage. And we can talk about those roles another time, and what I consider to be the most important and hardest role in theater, stage managing. Stage managers are worth their weight in gold and any other precious metal you want to throw on there, because good stage managers are priceless. And if you have one, hang on to them, make them happy, treat them like royalty, because they are hard to come by and incredibly important to the process. So hope you guys have a great day. I'm off to my next rehearsal. We have 3 shows rehearsing right now, and then we'll have a dance show coming in as well coming to use our space, and we'll be supporting them in that. So y'all have a great day.